You just came. Your cookie's right here. Oh, you've eaten some of it. It's not heart-shaped anymore. It's a little crooked. See, it's sitting right here. Hey, kia ora. Helen, Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona. Hope you're all having a super fantastic, sparkling Serenity Sunday. How was your Serenity Sunday? Did you have a nice, relaxing day? We have, even though we had to work this afternoon, it was nice and relaxing. It's probably one of the quietest chat sessions I have ever had for the almost year that I've been on chat. You gotta look, I think I'm coming up on a year on chat. Wow, amazing what happens in a year. But we had a beautiful, restful day. What did we do today, Zeph? Basically nothing, really, until we got on chat, and then we just went around waiting on that stuff and answering stuff when it came in and working on some procedures for them, and just basically had a really cool, relaxing Sunday that didn't feel like I was working. It was awesome. I did do some research this morning. I wasn't going to do genealogy today, but I got stuck in. I was reading through the New Zealand newspapers. They have a website you can go to where you can get to see newspapers and stuff. So I was doing research on my own family for that, and came across interesting stories. I'm sort of like, okay. So, the one I told you about yesterday was about Hubert Rosalind Eakins, and how he was challenged along with two other reporters to fly around the world on commercial flights in the quickest time possible. And he did it in like 18 days, 14 hours and 56 minutes or something like that. And it was another 6 days before the other two arrived. And they arrived within about 30 minutes of each other. So, yes, I got to learn about that. Today I learned that in 1906, I think it was, there was a great big fire in Wellington, which is our capital. And the building that my great-grandfather used for his gunsmith shop was gutted. And I found out just how valuable my great-grandfather was. I mean, he was a captain in the army. He came up through the ranks. I found him as a quartermaster. I found him as a major, and I knew he was a captain. So he came up through the ranks and everything else. And but he was a very talented guy when it came to, like yesterday I reported about how he's got he makes fishing rods, he would repair guns, he was a locksmith, a safe cracker, and all that sort of thing. But they were talking about the fire, the Great Wellington Fire, and how he went and helped crack open safes that were left in businesses that were burned, and nothing inside was damaged by the fire. And there were reports of that in some of the newspapers that I read. So I thought that was pretty cool. And he was also worked for the police in doing locksmith and safe cracking, and a locksmith and safe cracking role. So it was kind of cool to read a little more, get to know my grandfather a little more that way. Zeffy girl, what is the problem? She just looks at me, frowns, and goes back to looking out the window. Obviously, something's got her attention out there. So it was kind of interesting to read that. Then I read, what else did I read? Oh, then there was, now this one is a distant cousin, because her father, remember this, her father was brothers with my great-great-grandfather. Yeah. So my grandfather, who was the captain and the gunsmith and the locksmith and all that, his dad had been married before he married my great-grandmother, and had 6 or 7 children. He had 6 or 7 children. Maybe they have the same grandfather. Well, now I have to go back and have a look at that, because my second great-grandfather could have actually been her grandfather. No, her father. But maybe that's what it was. Now I have to go back and have a look at that. But anyway, I found this story about this woman called Constance, who was in Melbourne? Yeah, Melbourne. And this guy had been stalking her, and this took place in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, and had actually taken a shot at her and grazed her temple. So it almost killed her. This guy was obsessed with her, and kept asking her to marry him, and she was going, no, 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 no. So there was all of the story about that with the court case, with the reports about her being shot and everything else. And I thought, oh, that name sounds familiar. So I went and had a look in the family tree and found her. And I was sort of like, oh, interesting. So let's see, there she is. So I was like, oh, to me, it was interesting. In fact, I will tell you her relationship to me. She's my first cousin twice removed. So her father was brothers with my great-grandfather or my great-great-grandfather. She gets so many things. He was a half-brother. Okay, so her father was the half-brother of my great-grandfather. That's how we get it. And so my grandfather would have been her first cousin, which is why it's two removed to me. And but anyway, so so my grandfather had my great-great-grandfather, sorry, had all these children with his first wife. Then he ended up getting then she passed away, so he got married again to my great-grandmother, and they only had one child, and he passed away like about a year after my great-grandfather was born. And so then my great-grandmother, along with one of his daughters, so my second great-grandmother, along with my great-grandfather, who was a child, brought along with her one of her stepdaughters, and they immigrated to New Zealand to meet up with one of her brothers who had already gone out to New Zealand. And that's how my great-great-grandmother and my great-grandfather ended up in New Zealand. So it was kind of interesting reading this. And somehow Constance ended up going to Australia. Now, I'm not sure if her father went to Australia and she went with them, but she was a bit of a character, this one. She was a bit of a character, according to the newspaper. She was an entertainer of some sort. What sort? I don't know. But, there was just this whole story about her being stalked and everything and being shot at was kind of interesting. So, when you're researching family history, you never, ever know what you are going to discover. So, yes, I found this whole thing about Constance, and I wonder if it is the same person. So what I've been able to find from the newspaper articles lines up with this person from England who was born in England. So it is quite possibly her. I just have to find the other pieces that connect everything together that say, yes, it's definitely her. But so if it is this person, she's my first cousin twice removed. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that story. So stay tuned. So her first cousin twice removed, how does that come about? Her father and my grandfather are first cousins. So that's where the thing is. She is immediately, no, sorry, hang on. Her father and my great-grandfather are siblings. My grandfather and Constance are first cousins. Okay, you with me now? So you've got the siblings, then we have the cousins, and so she's a cousin to my grandfather. I am 2 generations below my grandfather, so they're first cousins, twice removed. That's how you get that. So she's my first cousin twice removed. So if it turns out to be this, but everything's lining up because I have all of her information in the family tree from when she lived in Melbourne, where all of this took place. And I'm kind of thinking Constance is not that much of a common name in that area at that time. So I'm still digging, still seeing but everything I have for her in Melbourne, she was in Melbourne, living there in that area at the time when this incident took place. So there is a very good chance that she was the person that was involved in this incident. So I'm going to do some more digging and see what else I can find out. I'm going to see if I can get find the Australian newspaper archives, because they might have a little more information than the New Zealand archive papers. But it will be interesting to find out. So I'll keep you posted on that one to see if it is a connection. So yeah, like I said, you never know what's going to come up. And I have a All my great aunts, my grandfather's sisters, were all very accomplished at school. There's newspaper articles in there about them in competitions, getting first or second or third, with singing, with playing sports. So it was kind of interesting to read that, 'cause, you don't with the great aunts and uncles, I didn't get to see them a lot growing up, and when we did, we never really talked about their childhood, what it was like to grow up. So it's kind of cool going through and seeing that. And I discovered an article in which my grandfather and his twin sister won a baby show for twins. They were entered into a baby show, and they won the twin category. I did not know that. So I found that I tell you find lots of really cool stuff when you go searching through newspapers and things, and especially somewhere like New Zealand where it's small and the likelihood of, there was only one set of twins born to the Eakins. But yeah, it was interesting. And then in the birth notices and that, finding out they wrote there if a birth was by cesarean section, so by C-sections, they wrote those in there too, because I put parentheses with cesarean inside the parentheses if the child was born by C-section. So I found out that some of my relatives were born by C-section, and I was like, I did not know that. So it's kind of interesting to go back and look at that sort of stuff, and it's like, But anyway, I'm out of here. I got a couple of what's the steaks we got tonight, Zeph? I think they're sirloin. Pretty sure it's sirloin. Sirloin steaks. They're like nice thick steaks. So I'm going to go put them on the grill and cook them up. I'll definitely do one. I'm going to do them separately because I've discovered that even though it's meant to be for 4 people, they have to be small burgers to get them on there for 4 people. for all 4 of them to cook through thoroughly. So I'll put one steak on, and then while that's sitting, I can put the other steak on, and then by the time the second steak is cooked, the other one would have rested long enough, so I just switch them out, rest one and eat the other. And then I've got the other one cold for tomorrow, which I can slice up and put on a salad or put in a sandwich or something like that. So we shall see. Anyway, I'm out of here. Go have a super fantastic sparkly evening. I hope you've all had a very restful Sunday, and we will catch you guys back here. Oh, that's the other thing I did. I got my planner ready for next week. Catch you back here tomorrow morning for Magic Monday. Hey, konara.